Sunday.
Yeah, I'll set up a couple more here.
I'll do that while you
Talk amongst yourselves. Okay, great. She's gonna grab a couple.
We're best friends since today.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. We at Left Bank Books are delighted to present the acclaimed author Elise Hart Kipness. Let's give her a big round of applause. Elise is here to discuss the highly anticipated continuation of her Kate Green series, featuring sports reporter turned crime writer. This time taking on the fast-paced world of tennis. This book is a crime-spree, most anticipated summer read, and the new addition to the series has early praise from writers such as Tess Gerritsen and Hank Bryan. It's the perfect summer read, so thank you all so much for joining us for it. We also want to welcome everybody on our virtual audience. Thank you for being here wherever you are. You'll be able to participate in the Q&A by leaving your question as a YouTube comment, and I'll keep an eye on that to read your questions aloud, so thank you for being here. We at Left Bank Books are always hard at work putting together a fantastic calendar of author events. There's several weeks, so there's always something for everybody. We are particularly excited about on October 8th, we're going to have Richard Osman in town, author of the Thursday Murder Club. So we have tickets on our website, or we can help you with that in person. We're excited for that one. Also, October 27th, Jo Firestone will be here with her hilarious murder mystery, Murder on Sex Island, which is going to be a fascinating time as well. So check out those events or any of our others. left-bank.com/event is our full events calendar. We are delighted to be welcoming to his workplace, our events coordinator, Shane Mullen. He's giving me a conversation tonight. He's a mystery lover and has read so many mysteries, so when he says something's great, you know for sure he knows what he's talking about. So he's happy to be in conversation tonight. Elise Hart Kipness is a television sports reporter turned crime fiction writer. Close Call is based on Elise's experience in the high-pressure, adrenaline-pumping world of live TV. Like her protagonist, Elise chased marquee athletes at the U.S. Open and stood under the glaring lights reporting to national audiences. In addition to reporting for Fox Sports Network, Elise was a reporter at New York's WNBC TV, News 12 Long Island, and the Associated Press. She's currently a co-president of Sisters in Crime Connecticut. And when not writing, she loves reading and binge-watching thrillers, and she will fight you for the last scoop of coffee ice cream. A graduate of Brown University, Elise has 2 college-age sons. Elise, her husband, and their 3 labradoodles divide their time between Florida and Connecticut. And Elise's new book, the hard-hitting thriller reporter Kate Green courts danger once again in Close Call. The famous subject of Kate's next story is kidnapped during the U.S. Open. And Kate calls on her estranged father, an NYPD detective, for help launching the search. And their investigation leads to the victim's hometown and a growing list of suspects, and the kidnapper threatens to spill secrets that could destroy lives. Tangled up in a deadly web of deceit, Kate races to connect the dots and find the missing player before it's too late. Here to tell us all about the high-stakes adventure of Close Call, as well as writing as a whole and your career as a journalist. Hope to hear about your sports times. Please give a very warm welcome to Elise Hart Kipness.
Thank you, Evan. I will say that I'm in conversation with Jo Firestone as well, so if this goes well, you might be enticed to come to that event. If it goes poorly, just come because Jo's very entertaining. Hello, I am so excited. This is a first time meeting.
It is. I'm so excited too.
I should preface this, and I don't lie, so I will say, A, I love this book.
Yay.
B, I have not read books 1 and 2. So I have only read book 3 in the series. proving that yes, you can jump in anywhere in the series and thoroughly enjoy them. So we're going to talk about books 1 and 2, book 3, obviously, primarily, because that's what I'm most familiar with. And yes, your career as a sports journalist. So I want to start with, could you give us a little bit of backstory, what leads us up to book 3 in the series?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started the series with Lights Out, which is Kate. So my main character, Kate, I like to think of her as a way cooler version of me. She's a soccer gold medalist. I'm a soccer mom. She chases bad guys through the tunnels of Madison Square Garden and the grounds of the US Open. And I chase labradoodles around my yard. And she has much more interesting demons and a dark side, and mine are like of the very mundane variety. So, and I made her tall because I'm 5 feet, and I was like, wouldn't it be nice to be tall? So I thought I would do that. So Kate has been suspended in Lights Out, and I won't tell you why, but it wasn't her fault, of course. And I mean, it was a little her fault, but and an NBA player dies in his mansion in Greenwich, Connecticut, and Kate's best friend becomes the main suspect. So Kate goes out to prove that her best friend is innocent, and it takes off from there. And then in Dangerous Play, that was really fun to write. Everyone says the second book is the hardest. For me, the third book was the hardest. I can tell you about that after, but the second book went into what it was like for Kate when she was a youth national player in soccer, and something that happened there, girls hazing, that kind of thing, that may have been a clue to what the murderer, why the person who was murdered was murdered. And soccer is the one sport I came to from multiple directions. So I'm a soccer, I covered soccer, but I really am a soccer mom. My son played for NYCFC, and he's a D1 player, and he went to a national camp. And so I saw it from a different light, and that was really fun to go back and write about soccer. And then that brings us to Close Call here, which was something I covered, but I wanted to make it different. I think it's the most thrillery of the books. The others are more, I want to say whodunit, but like it didn't have that like real time chasing the person down that this was. And I found that hard, challenging. I had a couple of false starts.
So obviously sports has played a large part in your career as well as your books. So I'm curious how much research you have put into these books, and if for a non-sports person, because I didn't actually have to look up anything, because I barely understand like the scoring of tennis.
Yeah,
like that's how little sports I know. So do you have like a line of, okay, this is too much, this is not enough? How exciting was it for you to incorporate sports, which you love, into a mystery?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because I was very focused on making the sports the setting and not the plot. I'm very much into like drama. Like I love Gossip Girls and like all those teeny bopper kind of shows. And I really think it's more domestic thriller than anything else. But sports is the background. I wanted to take the glamour part of it, or the supposed glamour part, and maybe there's the underbelly part of it. But it wasn't going to be an X's and O's book. I barely follow that either. And I was very conscious of the words I chose, whether to, I really tried to stay away from any insider stuff. And I forgot the rest of it. You had another part of that question that I really wanted to answer, and I can't remember. So tell me again. Research. Okay, there we go. Okay. When a crime fiction writer, see, this is like eerie. I feel like this is on this, 'cause I'm about to tell you something really dark. When a crime fiction reporter researches, it's very different. So I went to the US Open. I had covered the US Open, and it was also an event that I went to with, when I was in high school. And I lived half an hour from Flushing Meadows, and that was like the thing that everyone would go to. Here, Tracy was saying it's chess. So, okay. Anyway, so I did go. I took my younger son, and we're out on the outer courts, and I see something on the concourse, and I'm like, I'll be right back. And the ushers do not like when you leave during a tent. I mean, it's very, you have to be really polite. And I just like darted. And I go out, I take a picture of something, I come back, I'm very proud of myself. And I like look at a giant refrigeration unit. And I'm like, this is the perfect place to hide a body. So yeah, I mean, so that's how I researched the US Open. And there were scenes in there, right, where there's patio furniture and they find a place that's kind of off the beaten track. And that was another spot where I'm like, oh, Ryan, we need to go over here, because this would be a cool spot. I will say also when we were at Arthur Ashe Stadium and he was watching the action on the court, I was like, oh, what if these giant cables broke, for the cameras? So it's a different way of thinking of things.
I love the details of like where Kate parked. I could feel it of her being like, like my car is so far away. Like,
Yes, and that was true every time, no matter what. Like you park. So the Long Island Expressway and traffic did play a bit of a part in the book because I mean, I grew up with the traffic, and like anyone who tells you they know traffic doesn't know traffic until you've been on the Long Island Expressway. It is so bad. And then you get to the US Open and you're like literally in the same amount of traffic just to park and then take the shuttle back to get, I mean, it's a nightmare. So yeah, it needed to play a role. It wouldn't be authentic without traffic.
I did accidentally end up in New York City when the US Open.
Oh no.
And I did not. Like, I was like, it's just a tennis match. Like,
Oh.
I was not prepared. Thankfully, I was far enough away from it, but it's still, like, it absolutely affects the whole
yeah.
city.
Oh yeah.
And I felt you did that very realistic
Thank
justice
you.
here.
Yes. You want to be tormented, read those sections.
Yes. I want to, the question that I thought would be fun. So as a sports reporter, there are a lot of true crimes that happen in sports. So I'm wondering where your inspiration for these books, like where you find the inspiration for the crimes in the books, and then I'll hold off on part two. So,
Okay. So I think back to who I really want to murder. No, I'm joking on that one. I covered a lot of crime before I was a sports reporter. And I covered the Joel Rifkin serial murder trial. I covered a lot of sports crime, the Ray Caruth trial, the Ray Lewis trial. So I covered a lot of trials. I covered a lot of murder. When I was at NBC, it was kind of like if it bleeds, it leads. It was that kind of a mentality. So I never knew why I picked crime fiction. I knew why I picked writing about a sports reporter, but I didn't know about that. And then I heard Elise Hart talking. She was an amazing author. I'm going to butcher what she said, but she said something about how it like purges you of the darkness inside. And if you meet thriller writers, like they tend to be, you probably know, like they tend to be very happy people in your life. And romance writers are just evil and have terrible reputations. I mean, it's true, right? I mean, it is. You can't say your book's seller, but it's true.
my least favorite author. ever host is a romance author who probably many of you have read. And you can hold a knife to my throat and I won't tell you who it is.
Yeah, you can't do that, but it's true. So, I think I wrote about crime to kind of get that out of me. But I didn't realize it until after. And then for the specific people, I decided really more based on sport. I decided to do the NBA first, to do basketball because that was the first sport I covered. I used to have to stand on a milk crate to interview the players. Even then, I was like, yeah, but I did. I stood on a milk crate. Yeah, and then I chose soccer because I really wanted to write about soccer because I felt this connection to it. And I just love girl drama, and soccer was so perfect for that. And then the US Open again, it was like one of my favorite sports to cover. So, and I really wanted things that were glamorous and fun and that kind of thing.
So have the crimes come from your reporting, or have they been all like kind of conglomeration of various crimes?
I like to say smushed.
Smushed,
Smushed. Yeah, they've been conglomerations. There's nothing based on an actual crime. That's all made up. I think I take elements of different things that I covered, but I made up those crimes completely.
So from your reporting,
or so I say.
that's the question. That's the answer that I needed to ask. The second
Okay,
question,
go ahead.
from your reporting, is there anything that is true crime that is too wild for fiction that you've been like, maybe I could incorporate that a little bit in there, but you're just like I'm thinking the like O.J. Simpson, where like that's the sports true crime that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Who would believe that if it were in?
I know, they wouldn't.
No.
No, I think the way that I think about structuring my plots, I may go backwards from it. So I kind of think of the different characters related to the different, like the red herrings and the actual breadcrumbs that lead you to it. And I really do make that all up. I mean, there are elements in my book based on true things, but they're details. For example, one of the two women in this book, she doesn't sign autographs, and she's like the brash veteran. And that's based on the fact that Patrick Ewing, who I used to cover in the NBA, I covered the Knicks a lot, never signed autographs. And I always felt like he was a little bit misunderstood. I liked Patrick Ewing, actually. So I took that detail. And then the young upstart comes out with her cell phone onto the courts and is shooting out at everyone. And when I covered March Madness, I'd always get assigned to Duke. Shane Battier came out during the Final Four. I see my one sports fan nodding his head. I like that. Came out with back then the video camera off the bus with like all the media around, and he was shooting out at us. And I just thought that was that was a detail that I tucked away, and it came out here. So I do take a lot of little details from the real world and my experiences that I like to put into the book.
So we have the characters going through 3 books. So speaking of details, how do you personally keep track of the character arc through where we are now?
It's kind of the question. I don't know if you guys know this, but there is something called, are you a pantser or are you a plotter? And a pantser is someone who does an outline but shoots, but writes from the seat of their pants. They just go and they don't know the ending and all of that. And then there are people who plot it out. Like Jeffrey Deaver takes 8 months to plot out his book, and it's very, very, very outlined. I evolved, which apparently is very unusual. I keep hearing this. I started as a pantser because I didn't know anything about what I was doing, and you make a lot of mistakes. My first draft of Lights Out, I wrote like a reporter, so there was no suspense. It was who, what, where, when, why. It was so boring, and you can ask Tracy because she read every version. Yeah, so that wasn't good. And then I outlined a little bit more I don't want to say outline. It's a spreadsheet. It says chapter 1, chapter 2, and it's like a paragraph. It's literally like the red herrings are in red, shades of red. And then the breadcrumbs are, for the actual clues that are real, are in blue. And it's color coded, and hence red. So that was sort of there, and that helped me keep track. And then for Close Call, I stuck to it more, and I'm writing a new book now, and I'm really sticking to it. So it's evolving. I feel like it's partially because I don't have time to go down a rabbit hole, because I'm now like supposed to turn in a book a year, but so I'm trying to be more careful with my time.
Is the new book you're working on still in the Kate Green series?
It's not. It's a new series. It's about a news reporter. She works at a place you probably never heard of, where there's a giant Christmas tree in New York City. They ice skate, I think.
So I had another question about the characters.
You wanted me to ask me about evil.
Yes. Well, so is the Kate Green series done? Or do you see the characters coming back in some way, shape, or form?
So it's not up to me.
Oh.
I mean, it's not. I'd like to think there's another Kate Green book out there. The book's been optioned now for a TV series, and I'm, hearing positive things. We'll see where it goes for that. So we'll see. I think if Kate did continue, I'd like her to go to spring training in Florida, because I covered spring training, and it's a really relaxed environment. Like Bertie Williams is playing his guitar, and Joe Torre would tell me where to go on my honeymoon. Do you remember that? And yeah, so that would be a place I'd like to set it. But I'm excited about this new one. I'm making her a little more edgy. It's a little more maybe an unreliable narrator. I might be unreliable right now.
So you're getting some inspiration from your friend Liv Constantine.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I did really like the characters, and one of the characters that I liked a lot, I maybe probably shouldn't have, but you'll probably know pretty early, like, this person is. So I'm wondering if you have lines that you draw for yourself in terms of characters. Like, I cannot let this character do this. I cannot let this character make these like gestures. But especially when do you decide that they are too evil for the page?
I think the fact that you like that character so much means I did something right, because I like to think that I really try not to make my characters two-dimensional. So the fact that you like someone who has some redeeming quality, who is also evil, like that's my goal. That's like, bravo, home run. I can go home, because that's what you want as a writer. You want complexity. You want that kind of a thing. I mean, I write about Greenwich, especially Greenwich, Connecticut plays a big role in my first book. And it's a town that other people have written about potentially, and you hate it. And I didn't want that. There's a lot about Greenwich that is likable. And I really wanted to, just like the characters, show the complexity and show the layers. I like to really try to have layers. So no one is too evil for me to write about, but they can't be purely evil. They have to have some redeeming qualities, even if, if they're going to spend the rest of their lives in prison.
So you've mentioned a few authors that you are friends with,
Yeah,
and I have been able to be in conversation with Liv Constantine, and I've witnessed Lisa Unger talking
Yeah.
about her books. I'm friends with a lot of mystery authors who talk about the twist.
mm-hmm.
What is your philosophy on the twist?
Yeah.
And do you feel like there is enough, not enough? How far can you take it to make it still believable?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So Liv Constantine, who does the Mrs. Parrish books, she starts with her twist. That's the beginning for her and her sister, Lynn and Val. I start with the sport, and then I start with the murder victim. I think there's an evolution as you write, kind of like how when you learn math, for example, you like start with multiplication tables, right? You're like 7 times 6, and you're like counting it out on your fingers. And then all of a sudden it clicks, like, oh, I know what that is. I, for the first time in my next book, know what the twist is. And that was the first thing that I figured out. I figured it out, I talk out my books with my agent. And we figured that one out together. But so I started with a twist, and that was new for me. And I think it's because as you keep going, more things fall into place without you realizing. Like as you learn something new, if you're playing tennis, you're not like racket back, hit before it's forward, swing through. It becomes more and more natural. Tracy, you have to come back here and take pictures.
I was going to do it during the. I didn't want to disrupt.
No,
Okay,
you
yeah.
can disrupt.
Okay,
Go ahead.
I'm disrupting.
Get the pictures in. This is how life was for us when we were roommates, except she's always late. I don't know if you guys have that going. Show that. Okay. Yeah.
So I've got a couple more questions, but I want you all to be thinking of questions for the audience Q&A. So be preparing yourself. We've got a lot more things to talk about. And, how many of you have read the first and second book? Ooh, okay. So we might get some more specific questions. But no one's read the third book, right? Because it literally, already,
Yeah.
wow.
She's
It's
one of my
not even really
She's
out yet.
grammar. She got an arc.
Yes. Okay. So Sisters in Crime, which is a huge support for a lot of mystery authors.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you can tell the audience a little bit more about like how they can join or like what benefits it has for writers, because it is such an important and wonderful organization.
Yeah, that's so nice that you're giving time to that. So I really appreciate you asking that question. Sisters in Crime is a national organization that was started to uplift female crime fiction writers because a while ago, until recently, the majority of writers were men in crime fiction. Women are having more of a renaissance very recently, so that's amazing. But it's a very and men belong to it too, like we have men in the group also. But it's an organization that gives you community and really supports one another. And there's a lot of events that are there to teach you the craft and help you before you get published, which is amazing. I actually credit the organization with the fact that I even did get an agent and get published because my co-president, Tess Gerritsen, another really good author, Connecticut author, I was like, I don't want to. And she made me go to Pitch Fest at Phillippi, which is another annual conference, and it's like speed dating for authors with agents, and you're on like an egg timer, and you pitch your story to your story. that's where I got my agent, and I wouldn't have gone if it wasn't for the people in Sisters in Crime. And then all these amazing authors like Liv, like Wendy Walker, were like blurbing me, being in conversation with me. Like it's really moving how supportive. And now I hope I'm giving back by helping, other people who are working their way up. And I think community is really important as a writer. So it's an amazing organization for that.
They also support a lot of indie bookstores, which is why I have a big place in my heart. And a lot of my favorite mystery authors are presidents of their chapters. And
Yeah.
it's really fantastic. A lot of mystery authors and a lot of authors in general read outside of their genre when they are writing because a lot of authors can find, Liv being one of them, said that a lot of what she reads when she's writing is nonfiction because she said that, right? Am I making that up? Okay. Thanks. Hopefully you have a better memory than I do. But I'm wondering what you read when you're writing and who your favorite mystery authors that you haven't already mentioned. Those authors are fantastic. So I'm wondering who else might need to be on their list?
Sure. Well, first, again, that's evolved for me. When I was writing my first book, and probably even my second, I couldn't read in my genre. So I just watched television. I didn't read at all, I think. Because you do hear other people's voices, like you don't hear yours, and it can be very confusing as you're kind of learning your own style and your own voice and everything like that. Now I do read in my genre as I'm writing, but I'll tell you where I got confused. When I started my tour like 5 days ago, I realized before an event I forgot the name of my killer. And I mean, like literally, because I know it's terrible. I'm sorry to admit this. But I'm writing a new series, so it wasn't even the same characters. And I'm like, oh my God, I cannot work on this book and be talking about Close Call. So I had to reread Close Call. I was like, oh, not that. And so that was hard. But I also reading can be very instructive. And once you're writing, you're reading for specific things. So one thing that I really wanted to learn with Lights Out, because I was having a problem, because I write in the first person present tense, and like you don't need to hear my characters be like, okay, I woke up, I brushed my teeth, I, put my makeup on. So how do you pass time in the first person? And I went back to Hunger Games for that because she does such a good job with passing time. Like, how do you go from getting picked to go to the Hunger Games, to be on the train, and you get rid of all this stuff in between. So I do read instructively like that. You asked some of the authors that I'm reading right now. So David Ellis, who wrote Look Closer, he writes with James Patterson too. I love that book. Sarah Pekkanen is a favorite of mine. Alex Finley. I really like Bob Bailey, who has a new book out, Robert Bailey, Boomerang. And all my people I won't say again, my Connecticut authors, Tessa, Liv, Wendy. Yeah.
All right. Are we ready for audience Q&A? Do we have our first question?
All right, I'll ask.
Okay.
You had said that perhaps this might become, oh, thank you. You had said perhaps this may become a TV series.
Yeah.
So who in your mind would play Kate Green? Who would get the honor of playing Kate Green?
Oh. So I will have absolutely no say. If I had my dream
who do you
cast.
envision? Who does she?
Yeah, I was thinking, there are a couple of people in my mind. I was thinking, maybe Sarah Lawrence would want to get involved. Maybe Zoe Kravitz. I loved her in Big Little Lies, I think it was, right?
Yep.
Liam Neeson, I always wonder if I picked Liam Murphy as the father because of Liam Neeson. So, if they're not doing anything, maybe some of them would want to step in. But I mean, I am excited because it was optioned by NBC Universal and Mary J. Blige's production studio. The executive producer signed on for it is just finished working on The Equalizer. Another producer worked on The Rookie, but she also did like Vampire Diaries and, you know, all these like really fun shows that I used to watch. So fingers crossed. I want a cameo though. I want to be a reporter in it. And I want to not stand on a box, but I want to be like, I really think I should have that. So that's the thing, like, I'm really gunning for.
When you write a book, Elise, do you know the ending right away? And if you do, does the ending stay the same, or is it, you change it as you go on and your characters evolve? And also, the whodunit person, is that always the same person when you start out? Like, okay, that's who's gonna do the crime, or does the person change sometimes?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and that kind of goes to the pantser plotter thing. With Lights Out, it was between one or two people, and it ended up going back to the person I thought it would be, so I wasn't completely there with that one. Dangerous Play, I did know. Close Call, I knew completely from the beginning before I even wrote a word, and the new one I know completely. So, I mean, we'll see. I guess I could change it as I go, but the more I write, the more I seem to stay on the map that I sent out at the beginning, but that's evolved.
I'm curious about this unreliable narrator, because I know in book club, we've talked about this, like, is it a new thing, and then is it easy, because it can irritate the readers, right? That's.
Trace is already beta reading for me.
I mean, like, how do you think about it? And is it a new trend?
I don't think it's a new trend. I think it's an old trend that's gone, like Gone Girl and stuff like that. I guess maybe it's more that you might question if she's unreliable. Or maybe it's just that when I wrote the Kate Green series, I really did think of Kate as being an extension of me. You know, I think it's a very common thing with authors that your first books are based largely on things about yourselves. But this person is a new person, like she is not me. So maybe it's just that she's unreliable to me. I'm exaggerating that she's not unreliable. Like that's not the point of the story, but it could just be that I don't trust her. I don't know. You'll see. I mean, you're probably going to get it in like 3 months. Tracy is a very, very good beta reader. And she knows that I'm very sensitive. So she's also very good at talking to me about the things that aren't working. Yeah, handling me.
You mentioned working with an agent. Do you expand on what that means and how that works in the literary world like that?
Yeah, sure. Agents, most publishers won't accept a manuscript from you if you don't have an agent, if it's a larger publishing house. But just like the music business, things are, there's more and more opportunities for writers and everything. For me, my agent, Liza Fleissig, is really like a literary manager. So she helped me set up my tour. She reads all my stuff early. We even plot together. So I'm really lucky that I have someone who's very, very heavily involved and vested. So it can range from anything from that for some people to somebody who is literally just doing your deal. But often it's I can't think of the right word, but you know, they're the first round to look at the manuscript before it goes somewhere else.
Almost like a steward into.
Yeah.
A lot of authors, especially mystery authors, have gotten really lucky that I've talked to, the ones that have been found success,
Yeah,
because their agents are more involved and it doesn't just drop when the deal happens.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Yeah, I got really lucky with that, and I feel like I earned it because my agent when I was a TV reporter was like the worst. Like literally, if you Googled the worst agent in TV reporting, this person would come up. I'm not even kidding. But so yeah, the gods blessed me with license.
Is your TV agent going to be,
My TV agent's dead. Oh wait, you mean my reporting agent or the TV agent?
the worst one? Are they gonna be
Oh no, he's dead.
in a, like?
Oh, in a book. Oh, this new series, maybe, right? I don't know if I can go there yet. It might be too late. We'll see. That's a good idea. Yeah, they can't sue me.
And they're terrible.
They are terrible. He might be too villainous to put in. Yeah. We'll talk about that later. Any other questions? Jack?
Sure. Pretty universal, isn't it? Everyone can kind of understand that and be able with a story that's revolving around that, but you kind of have to think about what the target audience is before you write the book to make sure there's like enough demand in the space for people to read it.
Yeah, that's, I shouldn't have asked you. That's a really hard question. Yes, because the majority of readers of thrillers and mysteries is probably female. And I'm not trying to stereotype, but if you look at the demographics, more men watch sports than women, which is why I really try to make it like more drama and use the sports more as a glamour setting and a behind the scenes setting, like what's it like to go into the locker room, what's it like in the tunnels of Madison Square Garden or places you never see at Yankee Stadium. My second book takes place at Yankee Stadium. They're playing soccer, it's at Yankee Stadium. And get into the drama of the sports. Because there is a lot, sports is so much drama. It's like you win, you lose, it's this giant thing. So it is like really rich with material, but I stay away from the X's and the O's, and I didn't even always know what X's and O's were. But yeah, good question.
We have a question from a complete stranger in the virtual audience. How long have you been on the road away from your husband? Is that a good or bad thing?
That's my husband, isn't it?
I believe so.
Okay. Hi, Rob. Yeah, I've been away from him for a while. He was invited on the tour. The good about being away from him is that I've been allowed to be really messy because he's neater than I am. But the bad is I missed you. And so overall, it's a bad thing and you should have come.
Other questions?
Did you always want to be a writer?
That's such an interesting question too, because I've been thinking about that. I always wanted to be a reporter. I read a biography about Edward R. Murrow when I was young, and I wanted to be the kind of reporter that changed the world. And then I came to reporting at a time when it was like, if it bleeds, like I was saying, it was very Geraldo Rivera-y. It was kind of, I covered the Monica Lewinsky grand jury hearing. You didn't feel like you were doing groundbreaking journalism. But then I didn't think so. And then when my kids were born, which was later for me, I ended up staying home because I was traveling. I would be places a month at a time. But then I found a journal I had written in my 20s that said, I wish I had more time to do the things I love, like writing. So I guess it was always there. And recently a friend reminded me when I was in high school, I wrote these little short stories, not high school, I'm sorry, elementary school, called The Shrimpies. about me. I was the main shrimp, and then there was the tall shrimp, the shorter shrimp, you know, 'cause we were all short. And so I guess I always was doing it without even thinking about it.
I will conclude with my final question.
Okay.
So from the fans, I'm not a sports person. I'm certain that a lot of people reading these books are sports people. But what are the reactions from sports people and from non-sports people? And are they aligned? Do sports people get more out of it? Do non-sports people just really get excited about reading something that they have no idea about?
I've never been asked that. I think sports fans get extra excited. And I do make a point of making sure that I don't mess anything up. Like, I have a beta reader who works for CBS Sports, who's a friend of mine. And then I had some of my son's cohorts who were on the girls' team for soccer, women's team, read it. And they found actually in Dangerous Play a couple of very small details I needed to fix. Like, for example, someone brought a car and snuck out with it. They're like, we wouldn't have a car. We'd have to steal the car. I'm like, okay, I can fix that. So I think, like, I'm thinking there's this bookstagrammer, Nicole, who writes about baseball, and she's so excited to talk. But it's a good question. I don't know. Yeah,
Let's take a poll.
I will.
All right. Well, I want to thank all of you for coming out tonight. Big round of applause.
Can I take a picture with everyone?
A lot of people have their books, so if you want to
Yeah.
hold up your book.
Can you be on this, or someone else who could take it?
Adam?
Where should we go?
I think you're good.
Oh, we get to do it this picture. All right. Wait, one more time. Have a good night. Hold your butts up. And I can find.
Yes, yep, so we'll leave it right up here. All right, so if you have not already purchased the book and want to do so, we do have all three at the front counter. Evan will be up there to help. And we will do the signing right up here in the front.
Can I take this off?
And if you did not get,
And if you give me the contact information, I have to give it back. I'm so sorry. Am I knocking you over? Did I just knock you over?
I want to say,
Yeah.
And this is, see, this is half the space, but it's covering this. Now I can see it. No. I was thinking when the goal was born, she had checked like, and it all fell out. But then I would find it in my crib. But then when it came back, it all grew back in line.
But when it came to this